Good afternoon. I hope you can hear me well and see my image. I'm here because I'm so tired of hearing these broadcasts about these drones flying all over the place. I want to try and set the record straight a little bit. I'm a drone pilot. I'm not certified yet. I'm due to take my FAA certification license for commercial drone pilot in the next 2 or 3 weeks. We've got the holidays going, so I'm a little slowed down on that. But I have been studying the course. I'm taking an official FAA course online just to prepare for the final exam, which I will receive at the local FAA authority. And once I pass that exam, which I expect to do well, then I will have my official commercial license to fly a drone. There are actually thousands of certified drone pilots all over the country, many thousands. And these people you hear on the news, Fox News, all the news channels talking about these drones in New Jersey, and now they're saying in 18 different states. Well, I got news for them. There's drones flying in every state, all over, and they have been for quite some time. And the news reporters are asking all the wrong people the questions. It's control, the airspace, all in the United States, the total airspace everywhere in the United States, and there's many different classes of airspace. They're all controlled by the FAA, no one else. It's not controlled by the local sheriff, it's not controlled by the governor, and it's not controlled by the local police. It's controlled only by the FAA. And how many of these news channels have you seen their primary guest, an FAA authority, the FAA administrator? Although I understand that the latest FAA administrator recently resigned. Big surprise. But my understanding that, well, there's still many other people within the FAA, thousands of people, who know what's going on. And you're not hearing from them. Well, partially because of these news channels, they call themselves news. They don't interview the FAA. They interview the congressmen and the senators, and believe me, those people are clueless. They don't know what's going on about drones. They don't have the first idea about drones, and what's legal and what isn't legal, and what the FAA knows. But if they want to know what's going on, they got to talk to the FAA. The FAA has regulations, and they have quite a few, and they've updated them pretty recently, as late as 2023. I mean, this is one of the pilot's handbooks for drone pilots. I read these things, and I need it to study for my license. But I just want to say, like, this is a flight plan. But these regulations, it's all under the FAA regulations for flying. The 107, FAA 107 is what it's called. And if you're a drone pilot, or what's called a unmanned aircraft, these drones are aircraft. And a lot of these news people saying, oh, well, it's not a drone, it's an aircraft. They're all aircraft, and they're all under control of the Federal Aviation Authority. And they're very strict, and especially in some states. I know I live in Georgia, and Georgia is a very strict state regarding drones. And for instance, anywhere in the United States, you cannot fly a drone in a national park. Now, that's national, so that's federal. In any national park, you are not permitted to fly a drone, even if you're licensed to fly a drone, unless you get a special waiver from the FAA that allows you to fly that drone in that national park. In many states, like the state of Georgia, you're not allowed to fly a drone in a state park. And they've even made it stricter than that. You can't fly a drone in a city park, a state park, anything under control of government. They won't let you near it. You can't fly on so many places. It's so restricted, believe me. But they know who you are if you are flying, and there's fines, there are fees, and some of them are very high. I know one person that was flying where he wasn't supposed to be and got fined close to $200,000. So they have high restrictions and high penalties. Now, recently the FAA made a requirement that on your drone, and I have one of my drones right here, and my drone is made in America. I don't buy the Chinese style. I love this drone, but this one has never been flown. This is fresh out of the new box. I've never had it in the air, never flown it yet. But you're required to put the serial number. You have to put it right on the side of the drone. I haven't done that yet because this just came out of the box. I opened it up for this video purposely, because I'm not going to fly it until I have my official license. You have the serial number, and you have, this one comes with a radio transmitter which transmits to the FAA all the technical data that the drone has accumulated and is available to the FAA. It has your name, has your serial number, your location of where you're flying, where specifically you are located. And that is in the radio information being transmitted, and this is a law under the FAA. So that radio information gets transmitted for quite a few miles, and the FAA picks up on that and records the data of every drone that's flown. Now, each person is only allowed to fly one drone at a time. You can only have control of one drone if you are an FAA pilot, as I will soon be officially. But you can only fly one drone at a time, and it must comply with all the list of restrictions and requirements for flying a drone in the United States. And when they say, well, you're bringing sheriffs on, you're bringing governors on, you say, we don't have any information. Well, of course they don't have any information. They're clueless. But you talk to the FAA and you ask them specifically. You made a regulation requiring people to put these communication sensors on their drones, or the manufacturer must build it in. Mine happens to be built in when you buy it. If yours don't have one, you can buy one and attach it to your drone, and it communicates and sends out all the data from the drone to the FAA. So they know exactly your name, your location, where you are, because each drone has to have a pilot in charge. If you're licensed, and most of the people out there flying these drones are licensed, and there's one pilot in charge. and he's in charge of a whole operation for that drone. There can be observers. The pilot could have an observer, and one very important thing. Now, talk about this observer is a very important thing. A requirement within the FAA on your registration, or you can get fined a lot, and you can lose your license. You must be within visual sight of that drone at all times. Excuse me 1 second. I have to. Got another screen on over here. This is my technical playroom. I have many computers and screens in here. Anyway, I have a flight simulator here. I do my own flying, but I'm not going into that. But you have to be within visual sight of your drone when you're flying it. Either you can lose your license, or you can be fined a lot of money if something happens. So, or even if nothing happens, but the FAA a policeman can come, a state cop or anyone can come and ask you for all this paperwork that you have to have for that aircraft and for yourself, showing that you have the ability to fly this drone where you're flying it. Now, that's only one part of the equation. We talk about airspace. I hear these so-called news commentators on Newsmax and Fox and other channels. Well, forget the other channels, but they don't know what they're talking about. Believe me, and you have to. Excuse me. Let me regain my train of thought for a second. I get upset on this because I listened to this for almost a month. They're talking about these drones. One part of the regulation is you have to have lights, or at least a minimum of one light on that drone. You have to have a nav light, preferred to be white. Now, on my drone here, I bought a bunch of red and green lights I can put on either side of it, for the proper flying orientation. So if you see that flight, you know which direction it's going. And you can see the nav light, whether it's coming toward you, and headlights. You can have headlights on it for landing purposes or whatever. You can put whatever lights you want on it. But you have to have a minimum of one light that has to see for miles, so other aircraft can see your drone when it's flying at night. These are the special new regulations that the FAA put out for night flying, which now they allow night flying with the light. But there's restrictions, like you can't fly over people and you can't fly over moving cars unless you have a special category of your drone, and there's only one of those that I know of. I think there's more coming out soon of newer drones that do have categories, and usually the reason for this is the helicopter type drones, the kinds with the props. They have tested those things, and if one of them flies into you, it can cause lacerations. So they say that's unsafe. You can't fly it unless you have these guards around the prop, all four props. And if you don't have those guards, can't fly it. You can't fly over people, and you can't fly over cars where you could cause an accident. So there's many other restrictions. I don't remember them all offhand. I'm preparing now because I'll be taking my test pretty soon. But I get so tired of hearing these dumb commentators talking and having guests that don't know what they're talking about. The fines are big if they don't follow the rules. And when they say, well, we don't know where they came from, that's bullshit. That's BS or whatever, excuse me on that, but it is. It's total bullshit, because that radio information sent off from these drones include all that, include the serial number, and they can look at the serial and they know who owns it, where it came from, who it belongs to, and the address you live at. So a guy can show up at your door and say, you've been flying your drone here too close to the airport, or you're in the wrong airspace. Now you have to understand a little bit about airspace. There's various levels of airspace depending on what class it's in. There's class B, class G, C, D, E, and so forth at different altitudes and different wingspan. Starts at a different height and begins and ends at different locations. There's a whole category about that, and believe me, I spent weeks just studying about airspace. And that's a tough topic to understand, but it's very important, because you got a lot of people on TV don't know what they're talking about airspace. They just think it's all one big airspace. It's not. It's many, many multiples of airspace. And it's different at every state. At every place where there's an airport has different airspace. But there's one you should be familiar with, and that's called Class G. G is in good. Because Class G airspace, you don't need anybody's permission to fly in that airspace. And in certain classes of E, you don't need permission to fly. But if it's if it's close to an airport, and if it's where the main runways are, the airport, it's class E2, E3, E4, and then there's other classes. Certain classes of E, you do need permission. But the only one you do not need at all times throughout the United States, anywhere in the United States, Class G is usually the lowest level airspace to the ground. And drones, by the FAA, you can only fly 400 feet, AGL. That's above ground level. Now, if you see a drone, oh, gee, that's got to be 1,000 feet. Well, they can get to 1,000 feet, but because AGL is like a cruise missile, you know, where it follows the terrain. Well, it's pretty much the same there. Your drone, actually, AGL follows the terrain. So if you're standing and it gets into sea level and things like that, aircraft fly above sea level. Drones fly above ground level. There's a big difference here. So if you're flying at 400 feet, which you're allowed to fly 400 feet, and then the ground suddenly goes up like this and comes over a big hill or a mountain, half a mountain, you can follow that and stay 400 feet above that ground. You just have to stay 400 feet above the ground, not sea level. You have to stay 400 feet above ground level. That's what you're permitted to do. So some of the drones you see will be above 400 feet. But in New Jersey, you know, one thing about New Jersey which would attract a lot of flyers, drone enthusiasts, it's flat. New Jersey is pretty much very flat. And it's a good place to fly a drone. You got a lot of nice scenery there. You can even get close to the ocean and get some nice views. But you're going to have flat level. You don't have to worry about all this all the time. So, because you're going flat. So, but these are enthusiasts. Now, there's two reasons to be up there flying. You are used to call them hobbyists, but they don't use that term anymore. Now it's a recreationalist. they're changing the names of everything nowadays. But if you're a drone, if you fly recreationally, that's different than flying commercially. I'll have a commercial license, which means I can make money flying. If you make a dime flying your aircraft, you're not flying recreationally. You're flying commercially, and you must be licensed to do so. And that means all that other stuff. You got to be registered. You have to. Well, every drone below 55 pounds must be registered with the FAA. That means includes your name, the ownership's name, where you live, and information about yourself. If that weighs 55 pounds or less, it has to be registered. Even if you don't use it for making money. But if you make money for it and it weighs less than 55 pounds, you still have to register it. Every drone has to be registered under 55 pounds. But if you register, and you have to register it with the FAA, and you can do that online. But if you're making money with it, that's puts you in a little different class. Let me see here. If you're flying for recreation purposes, it's covered under a different part of the 107, of the FAA Regulation 107. It's called, and I don't have my glasses on here, FAA 107, 44809. That's the part of the FAA 107, and that was established in 1973. Well, 2023. Don't have my glasses, so don't hold me to some of this stuff. I can't see. But there's a lot of things that these news people getting the wrong people on their channel. Don't bring in congressmen. They're the last people to ask about this stuff. Senators, maybe they're the last people to ask about this stuff. Bring in someone from the FAA, or bring in an instructor for the FAA who teaches drone flying. And you get some answers. They'll tell you about the radio communication of your drone to the FAA and serial number information, what they have on about every drone. So every drone is up there flying, unless the FAA has been lying to us, because they made these new laws about having to have this, and most drone owners don't want this communication device on his drone that sends all their information to the FAA. You don't want that. That's new. And they made it official, I think it was 2023. And they made some changes this year, 2024. But we don't want that. But they have it. So if they're telling you they don't know anything, then what did they put all these regulations out for that says they do? They have the regulations, and people are complying. And they said this on TV the other day. They said all these drones we don't see anything in non-compliance or breaking any laws. Well, then they must be reading that data. How do they know they're not breaking laws if they don't have that data? They have the data, but they don't want to talk about it because a lot of people are unhappy with those regulations that they just released recently in the past year or so. And they know people aren't happy with it. So if they go out and say this stuff is failing, it's not working because we got all these drones and we couldn't see nothing. We couldn't see anything. That's because they're lying and it's not working. So don't listen to them. they screwed up. And I could almost said a different word there, but you know what I mean. And they did that. Excuse me. So don't listen to these news people anymore. These news channels, they don't know what they're talking about. And the people that say, shoot it down. Hey, I'm not flying my drone yet, but if I get my drone up in the air as soon as I get my license, you don't want to shoot it down. This drone costs a good bit of money. It's made in the USA. Parts came from the USA. It's not that Chinese thing. I don't like that DJI that you were talking about, made in China, that they fly everywhere else. This is made in the USA, and you don't want to be shooting it down. You might find something come shooting back at you. You start shooting my drones down. You don't want that happening. And, I'll be prepared for it. Because what I'm concerned about, right now there's not a lot of fondness for drones. And this bad news thing that you're hearing every day is making it worse for people who fly drones, both for recreation and for a living, to make money. They do it and they do a lot of things for us. I mean, they can monitor the power lines, and these towers, even these wind tunnel things, these wind things. They go check that out. They go up where you can't go, and they check on things. And look how helpful they are in storms. They go in and rescue. Drones are valuable to us. But there's a lot of hatred out there for drone pilots. You could be flying a drone and somebody's going to come raising all kinds of hell with you. And that's a fact. I know that. I know friends that have been chased by drones. They had to run away from them. And it's hard to hide because you have to be in visual line of sight of that drone that you're flying all the time. People see the drone and they see where it goes, and they'll look for you. And that's happening. And so there's a lot of animosity about drone flyers. And this is making it much worse. That's bad for our kids who enjoy it for recreation. And the states, I mean, Georgia sucks in terms of policy for drones because it is a very unfriendly state towards drones. Very unfriendly. And they don't let you fly almost anywhere. You got to be posted. In other words, they put it in such a way that you can't fly there unless it is posted okay to fly a drone. Well, where do you see that? If there's no sign, if there's a sign that says no drones, okay, that's clear. If there's no sign, it has to be a sign that says you can fly a drone. And if it's not posted permitting drone flying, I don't know why my zoom keeps zooming in and out like that. I got a remote control here. Let's see if I can fix it if it keeps doing that. I don't know. That's the wrong one. Alright, let's just see if it holds there. I don't know. Okay. There's a lot of things to talk about here, and I was just making a short video because I'm very unhappy with these people that are out here criticizing, tell you to shoot down a drone. And that's bad, because that only makes more hatred for people who are flying drones. They got kids with them. Well, if you hit a drone, it's going to cost you a lot of money because you're going to pay for that. That's illegal. You can't do that. And you're certainly you hit my drone, you're going to be paying for it. And it's an expensive drone. This is not one of those cheap $300-400 drones that I have. Expensive drone, but I've yet to see a drone the size of an SUV out there, unless it's flying in Ukraine or something. God bless them. Up to them. But that's not what you're seeing out there. I can guarantee you. I mean, I can't guarantee anything, but there's no drones out there the size of a bus. I've even heard some of these idiots on TV saying, "Oh, it's the size of a school bus." Bullshit. It ain't the size of no school bus. You better, what the hell they're looking at. But they ain't no school bus drones out there. These are, all the ones that I've seen are mostly copter drones like what I have, and there's some bigger ones, but you ain't going to see no Predator out there flying around. And these aren't armed drones. They ain't going to hurt anybody. You can't fly over, and there's privacy laws. I can't even fly my drone from my own property. Can you believe that? Because I happen to live, I'm old, so I happen to live in a retirement community, and this HOA or whatever, oh, you can't fly a drone here, not even from your yard. Nope. Can't fly over a house. Can't fly in your backyard. Can't fly anywhere. Nowhere in the community. And it's a big community, expensive house. I can't fly my drone, so I have to go look for a place. In the state of Georgia, good luck on that. Now, you can't fly in a park, a state park. Certainly no federal parks. So Georgia is saying, keep your drones out of here. Thank you, Governor, for nothing. So obviously you can see I'm not a happy camper or a happy drone pilot. But drone pilots are needed. I mean, you need them. Oh, you got some excellent ones over in Ukraine. They do a different kind of thing, I grant you. But man, I like to learn from one or two of those guys over there. They're exceptional. And I'm taking the courses, and I've already completed all my safety courses, and I have my certificates for safety, drone safety. I have that. And you have to show all these papers. If a cop comes up to you, and it could be local, it could be state, it could even be the FAA show up. But usually the FAA will call you and they say, excuse me, we got a report here that you've been doing this. And then you say, yeah, I have my license. And they say, you're a 107 pilot? And I say, yes, I'm a commercial pilot. Because I don't say that yet, but give me 2 weeks. 2 to 3 weeks. I mean, we got Christmas coming. And I'll have it. And they're understanding. I mean, the FAA people that I've talked with and that I've seen, discussed with, and my instructor is phenomenal. I mean, he's number one. I'm not going to go into who they are and things like that. I don't want to be partialist, but I can say this. You want to fly a drone, first, get your license. And you say, well, I don't need that for recreation. Yeah, you don't, but you do. You're going to be out there flying for recreation. Somebody's going to go up there and they're going to give you a mouthful of crap. You don't need that. So, I mean, the people are growing angry with drone pilots. I guess they've been watching too much war TV. I don't know. But there's a lot of them out there. And there got to be something done about that. And if part of it, I think that's why FAA is keeping back their information. Because one, they're going to make the FAA look bad for putting out new regulations that aren't working. And that they have the information. They don't want the public to know just how much information they have about all these drone pilots. But that's what I think's going on. See, there's drone clubs. I'm a member of 2 different drone clubs. Community clubs and just hobbyist or flying. I'm not a member of a commercial pilot, but there's many commercial pilots in each one of those clubs, and they most all of them have their FCC license. And they all and they fly legit. They're legal. So when the police say on TV, they say, well, we can't find anything wrong, that they're breaking any laws. Well, most of them aren't. They have license and they're following the rules. And I watch them. I see these drones, and they watch the rules. I mean, they have their lights displayed and on. They're flying at night, and night flight is a pretty brand new authorization by the FAA for drone pilots to fly at night. But there's a lot of rules that you have to understand. I mean, like always having the visual line of sight and only can fly one drone at a time. You say, well, there's 50 drones out there. Okay, well, there's 50 people flying them. Give me a break. I mean, they all didn't come swimming up and out of the river, out of the ocean to fly these drones. Ain't no ship out there. They didn't come from the ocean. There's people out there flying these things. And they're doing it as, some of them call it as recreational pilots. And maybe someone's making some money filming this news. You're watching the news on their TV. You're seeing these drones. Somebody's getting paid for that film. And somebody's doing that. And the FCC, I'm sorry, I always confuse the two. FAA knows, if they want to know, because they got the feed. It's a radio feed right from the drone. Because if you don't have that, you're not following the rules. And they say, oh, everybody's following the rules. Well, then they have the FCC communications because they have the license. There's only one class of drones that don't have that. And they know who it is, who's flying it, where they are, all that information. They know. But they're lying to you. Well, that's a news shock right there. They're lying to you. Haven't heard that before. But I'm saying, turn off your TV if they start talking about the drones, especially these people that are hosts or news commentators. They don't know anything about a drone. You probably have to put it in front of their face before they recognize one. Oh, what? That's no SUV. No, it's not an SUV. It's a drone. It's small. Most of them are small. They have big lights and they shine bright, and the lights. They have to travel. You have to be able to light that thing a minimum of 3 miles, and most of them 5 miles. You can see that light. It doesn't have to blink, and the nav light doesn't have to blink. It's on solid. The white solid light is a nav light, unless you're looking at the headlights in the front. Usually you have 2 of those. You know where it's coming from. Well, there's a lot more I want to talk to about this drone. Maybe I'll make another video. About what's going on out there, but it's really something to turn your TV off. Don't listen to that nonsense. It's all bullshit, believe me. Most of it. And now you got even the president's getting involved in this. What? Give me a break. I saw one commentator on there the other day. And I'm home all day. I can't be out flying drones. I don't want to get my head shot off with somebody thinking they're going to be a hero and shoot some drone pilot. Oh, we got him. He causing all this stuff. I ain't going out there. But you start shooting at me, don't be surprised something will come back at you. As I don't want to start no drone wars. I don't want to start no civil wars. So I'm going to be kind of quiet. But I ain't no idiot. I'm 81 years old and I fly drone. I'm a former skydiver. I took pilot lessons. I mean, of a real plane, and so I have done some flying. I didn't get my license. I didn't finish that. I moved out. I moved away from where I was when I did that. And now I'm not going to put myself behind a wheel of an airplane. So I'll fly drone where I have my feet on the ground. I'm used to having my feet in the air and jumping out of planes and flying a small plane I can handle. I love it. I love flying. So I do it. I enjoy it. I'm old, and I'll spend my last whatever few years I have left doing what I enjoy. So don't be pointing those shotguns at me when I'm out there flying my drones. You ain't going to like what you get back. Well, anyway, sorry to get a little upset here, but I'm so tired of this news and these people don't know what they're talking about, especially the news stations. They don't know, and they're constantly talking about it. I mean, if they ain't talking about that, it's either a commercial or they're talking about the drones. Every one of these channels. Boy, I'm so sick of that. I'm going to do nothing but streaming in the future. Get rid of these damn TV stations. Well, you heard enough from me. I have more to say, a lot more to say, and especially about these regulations and the FCC. There I go again. See, FAA. Sorry, FAA. I mean to say FAA. And they're good people in the FAA. They ain't out there to put you in jail or take your license away. That's not their intent. They don't want to do that. They just want you to stay within the rules and be safe. They're concerned about safety just like I am. And so you're going to fly. If you fly, be safe at it and follow the rules. That's all I say. Follow the rules and stay where you're supposed to stay. Don't make it bad for everybody else out there trying to have a good time or make a few bucks. And all will be fine. Don't forget about this. And next fall, it'll happen all over again. I guarantee it. But that's all from me for now. I may make a follow-up video on this after I cool down a little bit. But thank you for watching me anyway. I appreciate your time. Go get 'em, and happy flying, however you do it. See ya.